Salve a tutti, non vi ruberò molto tempo. Oggi, con il Dottor Jordan Peterson, ci addentreremo nell'arte dell'argomentazione. In un mondo saturo di opinioni e prospettive, la capacità di partecipare a discussioni significative e costruttive è una competenza cruciale. Che tu sia un abile dibattitore o qualcuno desideroso di arricchire il proprio bagaglio conversazionale, questo video è pensato per guidarti attraverso i principi di un'argomentazione efficace. Buona visione e lasciate un like.
Situations where your words are likely to be used out of context, let's say, and that's a situation I've encountered. Well, you see, you encounter a situation like that very frequently. Everyone does in their life. Like if you're having a discussion with someone you live with, for example, so someone you have to be with for a long time, a lover, boyfriend, girlfriend, wife, husband, sibling for that matter, you're going to have contentious discussions about how to move forward. And it's very frequently the case that your words will be, that you'll be straw-manned. Your words will be taken out of context. The other person, and you too, will try to win instead of trying to solve the problem. What you have to kind of decide is, well, two things. The first thing is, you're probably wrong in some important way. And you might think, well, so what? But no, it's not so simple. Being wrong in some important way is like having a map that doesn't correspond to the streets. If you're wrong in some important way, when you go to where you're going, you will get lost and you might end up in a neighborhood that you don't want to visit. So it actually matters if you're wrong. And so now if you're talking to someone who is acting in opposition to you, it's possible that during your contentious discussion, they will tell you something about how you're wrong that's accurate. Now, you're not going to be very happy about that because, like, who wants to discover that they're wrong? But it's better to figure out that your map is inaccurate than it is to get lost. And so one of the things you have to remember when you're discussing things with people, even if they're out to defeat you, let's say, is that there is some glimmering of the possibility that you can walk away with more knowledge than you walked in with. And that can be worth paying quite a price for. If you're discussing a contentious issue with someone you love and that you have to live with and put up with, you want to listen to them. Because what you really want to do is establish a lasting peace. And you might even have to make their arguments for them. Maybe you're more verbally fluent than your partner, which doesn't mean, by the way, that you're more right. It just means you can construct better arguments on the fly. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're more accurate. You might have to help your partner formulate their arguments so that you can really get to grips with what it is that they're trying to say, so that you can alter the way that you're constructing your own narrative and your joint narrative so that you're not butting heads unnecessarily as you move forward through life. It's not a very good idea to win an argument with your wife, right? That isn't what you want, because then you have a defeated partner. And a defeated partner is not happy. And a defeated partner is often out to reclaim the defeat. And so as a strategy for moving forward with someone who you're going to wake up beside, 5,000 times, it's not a very advisable strategy. It's better to listen, to flesh out the argument on both sides, and to see if you can come to a mutually acceptable negotiated settlement. And that's the case in most encounters in life, if you can manage that. So, but it's easy to want to win. One of the things you want to learn if you're educated is that on any complex subject, there's a lot to be said. And that, you're going to come at that with your particular ideological bias, let's say your temperamental bias. Maybe even you might even come up at it with things you've actually thought about, although that's pretty damn rare. But you need to learn just exactly how localized your viewpoint is. There's psychology experiments that demonstrate this quite clearly. What you really want, if you're going to engage in a discussion about, say, something like gun control, is you want to be familiar with the entire range of arguments, deeply familiar, and have some respect for them. It's pretty clear that guns kill people. They're dangerous. But then it's also not self-evident that the only entities that should be allowed to be dangerous are the state entities. So there's things that can be said that are intelligent across that entire line of that entire distribution of opinion. And if you're educated, then you should be conversant with the entire range of opinions. Now, so that's one approach as an educator, is to teach people how to analyze an argument and to formulate their opinions. You do people a great service by that's teaching them how to think, not what to think, but how to think. Now, you know, when I lecture in my psychology courses, which is a different approach, let's say, I take a position on the literature because I have to. Like, there's no being neutral about the literature. What am I going to do? Pick random studies? It's like, that isn't how people work. I have a body of knowledge, and it stems partly from my biases and from my temperaments, but it's an informed body of opinion. But what I present it to the students as is like, look, this is my take on the literature. That doesn't mean I'm right. It means that I'm an informed observer. I'm an informed singular observer. And what I'm doing then is modeling how an informed singular observer would deal with a complex body of literature.